The Rhode Island Natural History Survey is a nonprofit organization. We're not part of a state agency, and we're not officially part of the university, although the university does give us our office space and other support. And so the Natural History Survey has databases and libraries. We work with networks of scientists, and we put together collaborative projects like this. This year's program was sponsored by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, which is funded in part by federal agencies and in part by charitable contributions. And the award to the Natural History Survey this year was for a collaborative project that would bring communities, state agencies, and nonprofits together to raise the awareness of invasive species and to do some specific project, in this case, Mile a Minute.
So just a little background on Mile a Minute. It's an annual, so it sprouts from a seed every year. It's native to Eastern Asia, and it was introduced in Pennsylvania in the 30s in a shipment of Japanese holly. Triangular leaves, they're toothed, so they're kind of serrated. A good identification thing is right here. This is a perfoliated leaf. It encircles the stem, so this is just a key thing to look for. The flowers are greenish white. You don't really see them, but then the berries, they're green when they're immature and blue when they're mature. So Mile a Minute vine, as the name suggests, in favorable growing conditions can grow up to 6 inches a day. It's no joke. And you can see that it will kill everything underneath.
So this is the second year that the Rhode Island Natural History Survey has administered the Youth Conservation League. Last year in 2010 was the pilot year, and because we've worked with a lot of different partners and gotten their feedback, we know that there's definitely a need for a Youth Conservation League in Rhode Island. We've been able to administer the Youth Conservation League through a grant through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And this is a grant specifically for Mile a Minute vine. And using this money, we've been able to hire this crew. But these guys work their tails off day in and day out. They'll spend 8 hours a day in the hot sun pulling this invasive plant Mile a Minute. And that's about what they spend half their time doing. The other half of the time is spent giving back to the community, working with other partners, Audubon Society of Rhode Island, different land trusts throughout the state. We've gone to the Foster Land Trust, the Narrow River Land Trust. So yeah, most of the time is spent pulling Mile a Minute vine, but the other half is spent pulling other invasives throughout the state.
Well, I'd say that working with Youth Conservation League has been a great experience. Not only has it given me just an opportunity to go out and do something great with, well, the woods around me, but it let me meet new people and just get an experience working in a field that I think I might want to take part in someday.
I've been a member of the Youth Conservation League for the past 5 weeks. It's been a very interesting experience. We've been to places in Rhode Island that I really had no idea existed.
I took this job because last summer I spent working in a liquor store behind a counter, and it could get very boring, and although I did meet cool people, it was pretty monotonous. And so this job enables me to be outside all the time, all day long, and I like it, and we get to see different places.
Well, this program has offered me an opportunity to do something worthwhile with my summer, and it's nice to just be out here working all day rather than sitting in front of a TV.
I've never really been to the island before, but it's really great so far. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and we're helping to preserve it. Each Mile a Minute that we take out is helping to preserve it. Those things grow like crazy.
Probably the biggest challenge we've had is dealing with the mile a minute vine, because it's such a tedious job. It's not just, you see a big sprig of it, so you go and pull it out. You have to get down to the roots, and you have to find every single sprig, because each plant can drop over 2,000 seeds. So if you miss one, you're really missing a lot.
The mile a minute is sort of an intimidating plant with its thorny vines and its roots, and it's all over the place. It may seem tedious at times, but the feelings of determination that overwhelm you at the end after you've even cleared an entire spot, that you've achieved so much, and it gives you a great feeling.
Well, mile a minute is, I don't know what to say about it. Basically, we all are seeing it when we're closing our eyes now, because we've been looking at it and pulling it all day for 8 hours straight.
And we found that the best approach is to work as a team, send a group of maybe 3 people to the same area, and then just tackle it, and then trace our steps over a few times, make sure we didn't miss anything. And we found that to be a pretty effective way of eliminating what we find.
I think we made a difference. It's hard to tell because it's just hand pulling weed after weed after weed, but if you take a look at those huge piles of mile a minute, it's very encouraging. It feels like we're making a difference.
We've dealt with all sorts of invasive species of plants, such as mile a minute, bittersweet, autumn olive, which is a big challenge because we've basically been taking down entire trees of autumn olive.
The weeds have been interesting, but my favorite parts have been the Crunier community sites that we've done, where one day we built a bridge, which was my favorite time. And it's just fun for me to actually build something rather than destroying something like we do with the mile a minute, although that's very necessary as well.
Before I joined the youth crew, I didn't really have a relationship with nature. Nature was something I kind of held about in awe. I didn't really know that much about it. And after 5 weeks, I can say my relationship with nature has completely changed. And it's changed me as a person entirely.
And now that I'm going to URI in the fall, just having this opportunity to do this has been a great experience to teach me something about the environmental sciences, which is what my major is in the fall. And being able to do this in the field really gives me a fieldwork perspective on an environmental science major.
I'm going to the University of New Haven in the fall, and I'm going for a music major, but one of my second choices was environmental science. I do enjoy the environment. I was a Boy Scout for 7 years, so I spent a lot of time in the woods. So I do have an appreciation for it, and this job definitely helped me build an even bigger appreciation for it by putting us out in it for 9 hours a day.
While surveying for a mile a minute, it seemed at some times that it would be an easy job and quick to remove on the mainland. But then eventually, as the crew got started, we realized that the task that we had before us was much larger and a much more tedious and slow-moving process. So to have as many hands as possible on, with the addition of volunteers, the call for volunteers and the outreach to the public, we were able to get a lot more done. Working with invasive species can be very frustrating, but with this crew learning what they have about mile a minute, it's comforting to know that there'll be a succession of partners in dealing with mile a minute and other invasives.